Welcome to the BK Show podcast. This is episode number 38, and today I am joined by my friend Jeff Vogl. Jeff is the founder of ClassicCarStereos.com and a few others as well. Jeff is pretty seasoned in the e-commerce game, and he's got some interesting businesses. Classic car stereos, cup holders plus, marine stereo, side-by-side UTV parts, among many others. He's in a lot of interesting niches. Oftentimes on this show, we've talked about how you can literally be into anything and can start a business around it. And Jeff, he embodies that. He is that. I appreciate him coming on the show today. He is another one of the Wednesday Night Poker Group boys, and I appreciate him coming on the show and sharing his story. And hopefully it inspires some of you to get started, because it doesn't matter what you're into. You truly can start a business around it. Real quick, this episode is brought to you by Bonjoro. I love Bonjoro. Bonjoro allows you to send a personalized video after each sale to your customers. So it doesn't matter whether you're selling digital products like courses or PDFs or books, or whether you're selling physical products, and that can be anything from, a $5 item to a $5,000 item. The ability to have another touch point with your customer right after the sale, send them a personalized video and just say thank you from the founder, like from the bottom of your heart. Thank you so much for this, for giving us your business. If there's anything we can do for you, please reach out. It allows them to actually reach you as the founder, which is fantastic. And so you can see this in action. Go to ParamountPetHealth.com and buy some shit from me. You will get a personalized video from me after purchase. I know a couple of you have done this, which is pretty cool. But I think this works in any business. Like, there's no reason why you wouldn't want to delight your customer even more. So 90% of business is referral. Like, when's the last time you bought something from an ad versus when your friend told you how cool it was, or when you saw somebody talking about it on social media? And so this gives just another reason for your customer to talk about your business, right? If they say, what a cool item I have, and the founder reached out to me, like, he actually sent me a personalized video. I think you'll be astonished at how many people actually reach back out to you and thank you for sending them the video. They're genuinely shocked that somebody took the time to send them a personalized video, and it goes a long way. It truly, truly does. And so I would recommend you at least give this a shot. If you go to benkonagandorf.com/Bonjoro, you get a free trial to get started. And if you don't get a response during that trial, I'll be shocked. I think your customers will be blown away by this, and it'll really give you an opportunity to have a greater relationship with your customers, and it's only going to lead to good things down the road. So whether you have repeat purchases like I do in my pets brand, or whether you sell really high ticket things where people don't come back, I encourage you to give this a shot. I think it's going to pay dividends, and it's $25 a month, which is an absolute no-brainer. So give it a shot. benkonagandorf.com/Bonjoro. You will find that in the show notes, since Konagandorf is a doozy to spell. But without further ado, let's jump into today's show with Jeff Vogl. Jeff Vogl, welcome to the show, buddy.
Ben, thanks for having me.
So another Wednesday Night Poker guest joins the show. I'm happy that you guys are coming on it, because I don't know a ton about you. So it's great to get to know Tyler Sickmeyer, Dave Charn, Taylor Holliday's been on here twice now. It's great to get you on here and hear your story. You hear it briefly over the course of 3 hours every Wednesday night, as I'm taking your money, or however that actually goes. It feels like I want to take everyone's money, but like, I don't know your story, man. I want to know where you came from. I actually thought you sold VW Beetles or something to do with VW Beetles, and then you sent me over ClassicCarStereos.com is the business you're actually running. So, man, I'm excited to learn your whole journey and how we even got here.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. You're not really wrong with the Beetles thing, but that's not the business I own. That's not what I do on a daily basis. But the Beetles thing kind of started. My dad owns a company, J-Bugs. So they sell all the parts to restore air-cooled Volkswagens. And he had bought that in 1997, and after doing healthcare sales. So he was selling medical devices, kind of what we thought at the time was like a pretty good job. I think still to this day, like, medical device sales is like well thought of. And he came home one day and said, I'm buying a VW bug parts business. And I think my sister and I were like, wait, what? Your VW bug parts, like AutoZone, but just for like bug parts? And he said, yeah. So we kind of drove down. It's in Oceanside, California, like North San Diego County, and kind of checked it out. And It was kind of like one of those like, Dad, are you sure you really want to do this? But it was kind of like his dream to always run that business. So that's kind of where my entrepreneurial journey kind of sort of started, and kind of the background to how I got into what I got into.
So what's it like? Were all of the Beetles air cooled, or
Up until 1970? Well, the Beetles, like the old slug bugs, if you will, were always air cooled. Even the ones made in Mexico, still air cooled. We kind of focus 1979 and older. Only vehicles that were made for the U.S. export market, which is totally different than Canada, Mexico, Brazil, Europe, anywhere else.
I'm not a car guy, but how does an air cool engine even, like, how does it keep cool enough?
It's just a fan. It's kind of the design where there's just a fan that blows enough air over the like fins of the cylinder heads that it kind of works. And it's probably one of the reasons why you see so many of the cars today. It was just like a genius design. I'm not really an engineer to know enough about it, but it works.
Yeah, I'm pretty dumb. So I'm trying to understand this too. Like, how was this not like replicated, right? This was German engineering, which, was ahead of its time. I know that much, but like, why wasn't this replicated? Why are we using antifreeze now?
Probably just for speed. I don't know how, I think Porsche used air-cooled engines. I don't know how late into like the 80s, maybe the 90s. I think it's just got to the point where from an efficiency standpoint and horsepower and a speed standpoint, they figured out that antifreeze and water does a better job.
So were you helping your dad with this business like in the beginning? Is that how your whole journey started?
No, I was 13 years old at the time. So it was a place where I could work in the summers during high school, during college. And I think the best part about it was an hour from our house to Oceanside every day. And whether I realized or not, like my dad would just like drop like business nuggets on me, and we would just talk shop, if you will, for 2 hours most days while, I'm in high school and college, etc. And I got to kind of see how he did things, and then went off to college. I went to University of Arizona, graduated college. And when I was like done with school, I told my dad, like, I'm going to go get a job in corporate America doing something, because I've seen what you do, how hard you work, what you have to go through owning your own business. And I don't want to work as hard as you.
I don't know if I've ever heard that. Usually it's the other way around, right? You see your parents working a 9 to 5 that they just hate, that they dread going to every day. I know my dad came home and it was just like, I don't know how to put it to words. I could just feel this energy around him where he was just fucking pissed off every day at like 4:00. And my mom would be like, don't bother your dad for like 30 minutes. And then we'd have supper and he was just so angry. I can't, it's hard for me to fathom the other side of things where, they were working to achieve their dream, and probably being a little more wealthy than having a 9 to 5 as well. But, seeing the stress side of it too.
Yeah. In my background when working there I was doing shipping or bagging or something that, like, I don't know, if I wasn't doing that, I was like answering the phones, and it was glorified customer service. And I didn't want to do that, because that would have been my job if I went to work there. There was only room for one king. I'd argue to this day there still is. But I didn't want to do that. And I don't know, there was a lot of times where it's like dad came home, wasn't there for dinner. A lot of times where it's like he was stressed because he went through like Y2K, where there was like a whole bunch of uncertainty there. Then he went through September 11th, like back and forth, where you could tell it was like, I don't know what the hell's going on. And he was stressed and working long hours. And I just was like, I don't want to do that. Like, I want to go do something professional, if you will, and not sell Volkswagen parts.
Can you help me understand how this business works? So I'm on the site right now. It's jbugs.com. Was there just a warehouse full of these like VW parts that he went and acquired, essentially the warehouse and the parts and the website, or is this all drop shipping, or how does this work?
So, in 1997, it was mail order. So it was, you sent a cap, people called in, you sent a catalog to the people and then they would call in and place the orders. Like e-commerce didn't exist yet, or maybe it did. It just hadn't gotten down to the depths of, Volkswagen parts.
How did he get in front of people? Like, how did anybody know to call J-Bugs?
Magazine ads. I don't really know. Like if you think about it, like outside of the enthusiast industry, like you'd go to car shows.
Yeah.
Advertising, there was 2 magazines. One of them is now defunct. The other one, I don't know where it is now, but it's probably close to being there because print is dead. Yeah, I mean, and the business was harder to come by because someone had to basically call in, order a catalog. Like at the time, like we would write down, you'd have the phone to your ear, because this is what I did like in high school, is like have the phone to your ear and you're writing down the labels. And then it went to like, okay, you're just typing them into a computer and then printing out labels and sending them on putting them on a catalog, shipping it out. Like they were revolutionary in their little niche because they were the only ones that didn't charge for a catalog. Like all the other people up until it was like later than you would even expect, would charge you $5 to send a catalog out. And you got your $5 back when you placed your first order. My dad looked at that as a businessman and was like, why would anyone pay $5 to receive a catalog? I'm just going to send it to you for free. So they had a free catalog, and that was one of the things that got him going. Kind of saw that it was like an industry with a bunch of hobbyists and not necessarily people that were into like running a business. He was like, if I can get 2 years in and they don't put me out of business, like I'm going to beat them, because these are all car guys trying to run a business, and I'm a business guy that's just happens to be in the car market.
Yeah, I can picture like the $5 makes sense, right? It's almost like a tripwire. If you can get somebody to spend a little bit with you, they're more likely to spend a lot with you, and it's going to recoup your costs. I guarantee there's somebody 20 years older than me listening to this right now who's like, man, Ben, you're so dumb. Of course, this is how they got customers, where I can't fathom life without the internet. Honestly, I remember it as a kid. I think we're roughly the same age, but I mean, I remember that as a kid, but it doesn't click with me on like how you would get in. Like forums back then would be what, like magazines, and that's where people hung out, was like reading about Beatles in magazines. And like I wonder how I can't even wrap my head around like what a forum would exist. How did these people get to know each other without the internet?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know either. I think people would go to like a Barnes and Noble, or I don't know what other bookstores were there, and like sit in the magazine aisles and just like look at magazines, or they subscribed. It's crazy when you think back. You're like, yeah, what did you do to like get in front of people to get new customers?
What did you do all day in general? Like life must have been really boring without the internet, honestly.
Yeah, it's crazy when, I don't think I've ever really like told this story to anyone like outside the family to kind of in this depth, because it didn't really matter or care, but I'm kind of hearing myself talk and I'm like, oh my God, like, yeah, I don't know what they did to do these things. So I don't want this to be about like my dad, but in a way, like, the kind of understanding like how my business came to be. I'm sitting in a position, very fortunate, privileged, lucky, however you want to say it, part of because of the, groundwork and foundation that he set with his business. But yeah, without getting too, he was doing pay-per-click with Overture before Google existed. So we kind of saw the writing on the wall, like people are going to buy stuff online. And then it was like, oh, there's this stuff called SEO, where you can like go and enter your meta keywords and put your keywords in there, and Google will see that and just rank you for them. Or you can just write a bunch of like keywords at the bottom of the page, like early keyword stuffing SEO. Like when that worked, he was reading books on it, getting smart on it, did PPC with Overture when you were like default, CPC was as low as like 2 cents. And then they raised it to a nickel. Then Yahoo bought Overture because Google ads didn't exist. And then all of a sudden Google took off, and, kind of the rest is history.
Yeah, the Wild West back then, people like writing keywords in white on a white background, right? Just stuffing them
Yeah.
everywhere. Like, I lived through, or I witnessed like the Amazon Wild West, which was sort of similar, but the Google one sounds like a whole, like, I'm sure I would have had a whole lot of fun and made a lot of like turn and burn websites back then that were just, easy to rank, and then eventually, Google gets smart and starts slapping you.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully, we never really did anything like too black hat, if you will. We kind of just kept it. If it sounds like it's a get rich, go to the top, scam, it probably, like, it's not a case of if, it's a case of when they figure it out. And when they do figure it out, they're going to punish you. So I guess, like, to make a long story longer,
do it.
The Volkswagen business exists. My dad's kind of doing PPC and SEO before the internet kind of really takes off. So he's been able to benefit by just like really strong organic rankings and paid search and all of the like things that kind of dominate internet marketing today. He was doing a long time ago, and kind of explaining that, telling me what he was doing, before it became mainstream and on Twitter and everyone was just sharing publicly like they do now. So that happens. I graduate college and I'm basically like, I see my dad doing that stuff. And I say, there's no way in hell I'm going to do that. I want to go into outside sales. So I was kind of held out because I wanted to find like an account management job, not necessarily something that was going to a strip mall or going to an office building and just knocking on doors, cold calling. And I got a job with company Tyco Electronics, or TE Connectivity, which was part of like Tyco, the huge conglomerate that had all that like fallout with fraud and Dennis Kozlowski and the 24 karat shower curtain and whatnot.
What? Hold on. What is all that? I don't know anything about that. Tyco, when I picture Tyco, I picture some of the toys I had as a kid.
Yeah, that's the response. As soon as you would say like, "Oh, I work for Tyco," people are like, "Wait, what? Tyco, like Tyco Toys?" It was like, no, it's like this multi-billion international corporation that owned like all these. They owned like ADT security. If you see like Covidian, like healthcare, so there was like Tyco Fire and Security, there was Tyco Healthcare, and then there was Tyco Electronics, which was like connectors and that type of stuff.
So nothing to do with the toy brand.
No, nothing to do with the toy brand. I don't know how the toy brand like makes its way into there, or if it ever did. But yeah, it was, this guy took the business from like peanuts to like massive, but he felt like he like deserved it, I guess. And this was all before my time there. And you could probably just go look up like the Tyco scandal and Dennis Kozlowski and like be impressed of like what actually happened and the fact that he could get away.
What did he do?
He just kept buying himself stuff on the company dime as a public company. And we didn't really concern ourselves with it that much because it was like after the time and no one really cared anymore. But that was like the company that I went to go work for. And it went really well. Like, I was fresh out of school. I had a pretty great job. I made really good money. I had a company car. Like, life was good. Was living in Newport. There was like no complaints. Then it was like 6 reorgs in 5 years or something like absurd. It was just like, we didn't know if we were coming or going. You would be like, hey, you have this job. 2 weeks later, oh, we lied. That division's now gone. You're back into your old job, or you're doing this, you're doing that. I kind of got into the solar side of things, like selling solar connectors. They created like a solar job. I got that job in a reorg. That reorg got squashed. I was back to my old job. Then the job came back and they hired some guy out of Utah to do it. And even though all the business was in Southern California, I was like, what the fuck's going on here? Like, these were the accounts I was calling on, and this is an obvious promotion, and you're going to hire some guy out of Utah to cover Southern California. So that was like kind of the first straw. So I was kind of pissed off with that. Then went through another reorg, and they said, "Yeah, you're going to cover the state of Arizona, but you don't have to move," which was awesome. That was my introduction into credit card points. So on a Monday, I'd get on a plane, fly over to Phoenix, stay in a hotel in Scottsdale. I stayed at Marriott because I was a Marriott guy and I liked the Marriott points. Also figured out how to use corporate codes to get really good deals on hotels during that time. And that was great because I was flying over there every week. The job was pretty easy. And I was living on the company dime, banking my entire paycheck because I lived on an expense account. It was kind of when they were moving to Arizona, they wanted me to move to Arizona. After that my dad was like, "Yeah, do you really want to move to Arizona?" And I was like, "No." He said, "Okay." And he had since started like 4 different websites. So he had started Seatbelts Plus, Cup Holders Plus, Mustang Interior Parts, and then we had done like a Volkswagen Vanagon site. And he was like, the Mustang parts, the Cup Holders Plus, and Vanagon, like, I don't have time to do them. So if you want, I'll sell you those 3 websites. And I mean, I don't remember. It was like $1,000 for all 3. And they were cash flow positive, or at least like making money. They weren't making like enough for me to quote unquote live on based on my last job or my job with Tyco, but they were at least enough that like I could have paid the bills. And I said, "Yeah, Dad, I'm going to do that. Like, fuck corporate America. Like, this isn't going anywhere, and I can try to go for another job and do like I'm going to deal with the same thing. Like, get passed up because I'm too young. I'm 26 or 27 years old, and they want to put a 35, 45, 50-year-old guy in the position because he's been there a long time." And it was just I kind of handled things some wrong ways and pissed people off, but I was going to tell them how I felt, and I didn't care because they were wrong, right? So it was like, I'm sure you can probably relate. It was like, no, fuck you. Like, you pass me up because I'm young. That's bullshit. These are my accounts. Like, go to hell.
I can relate, but it sounds like you got to quit. When I said similar things, maybe I shouldn't repeat them. Man, I was dumb back then. But I said some things that I regret, and yeah, they were like, "You know what? It sounds like you're having fun doing that internet thing." And they were really cocky about it too. And they were like,
Yeah.
"Go do your internet thing." And they told me to leave one day, and I was just like, "Okay, I guess I'm done here."
So I wasn't doing the internet thing yet. I knew I was like about to go do that internet thing. I dragged my feet like as long as I could. They were like, "Hey, so when are you moving?" And I was like, "When you give me a commission plan." They're like, "Well, when are you moving?" I said, "When I get a commission check, I'll move." So if the fiscal year started in October, it was like May of the following year, we finally got like a commission check. The commission check came in on like a Friday, and next Tuesday I called my boss and said, "Yeah, about moving to Arizona. This is my 2-week notice." And he was not happy. So yeah, that was that. That was kind of my corporate, realizing that there's systems in place that where you aren't in control of like what happens, both financially on a day-to-day basis and kind of in your happiness, your stress level, all of that. There's all these external factors when you're working in, I would say for anyone, but also like even for especially if you're kind of working for the man, if you will.
But you're always working for the man. I struggle with this, right? Because there's some people who just love having a job. And there's days where I'm like, man, it'd be nice to come home at 5 p.m. and think about anything else, right? You were there. It's somebody else's problem. But I was just talking to Taylor about this. You don't get wealthy in a job, right? And you don't get really ahead. You end up, being frustrated most of the time, and you're left out of decisions. And, like I said, with my father, I could see him come home just enraged every day and not want to do this. And, yeah, I don't know, man. 9 to 5. I envy people who want that, and I wonder if they really actually want that, or if they are just scared to step out on their own, and try to make a difference in the world. But like, you are a prime example, and your father, of like what the internet has allowed us to do. So he was doing it pre-internet, but like you're talking about, and I had to pull up here, but like classic car stereos and seatbeltsplus.com or side-by-side UTV parts. Like you can be into literally anything nowadays and make a business out of it, which is half the reason I started this show. I wanted to get people on here doing some really interesting things and unique things and show people that you can do whatever you want. Like we're definitely in like the gig economy, right? Like you could go drive for Uber. Boy, I should edit that out. You can go drive for Uber or Lyft, or there's a bunch of like gig things you can do, and you can also just start your side hustle. There's nothing stopping anyone listening to this from buying this ATR 2020 microphone that's right in front of me for $69 on Amazon, and uploading your podcast for free. There's a bunch of places you can put them out there for free, and just go talk, just go tell the world what you're doing. And if you can get through those first few moments of awful, it's going to turn into something great. And so, you guys are a prime example of this, man. I hope everybody has that moment you had where they, hold out for the check that's supposed to be coming for a long time and then say, yeah, fuck you, man. I'm going to go take a chance on myself. There has to be a moment in everyone's life where they try to break free. You got to try, man. You got to at least give it a shot.
Yeah. And it's scary. I mean, it's scary, but at the same, unless your story is pretty cool where it's like you have this side hustle on the side that's actually working. And you're like, hey, hey, fuck you. I'm not going to do this job anymore. I'm going to go do my internet thing. And they kind of shove it in your face. And you're like, haha, what you don't know is like this internet thing is going to create this life for me that's unbelievable. Or at least like it feels unbelievable at the time. And we always don't know what's happening. But yeah, it's like good things have happened, I think, to you, to me, to anyone. Part of it because like we were willing to take the chance. And it seems like, hearing your story and then like the Seatbelts Plus business came about because a supplier told my dad to start this company because one of their customers was like screwing them over and going to just go to China and get belts. Like, hey, this company's doing really well with us, but they're going to go try to like get their own stuff made. So why don't you start a site to compete with them? And we were like, thanks for the business idea. $8,000 worth of inventory later. And yeah, you'd be surprised like how much business is out there like selling replacement seatbelts. Probably similar to like you'd probably realize like how many, dogs and cats really need like, these supplements. You're like, nope, there's really that many people out there. There's that many dogs, there's that many cats, and they get hurt, they get old. And as long as people own dogs, people own cats, they're going to get old. People love them because they're family members. They're going to take care of them.
Yeah, I think it's hard to wrap your head around just how many people are in America. Like, 350 million people. And what 2/3 of those have a car, right? And so you don't need to sell the car. You're selling car stereos to people who have an old car, or replacing seatbelts, or how many people have a UTV? I live in a self-professed Trump land, just outside of the Twin Cities in Wisconsin. People drive them around our neighborhoods, right? Or going up north in northern Wisconsin's kind of the thing. Everybody has a UTV up there. There's just so many things you can do. The cup holders one, that one, I need to hear about. What is Cup Holders Plus, and how are you selling cup holders on the internet?
So Cup Holders Plus is same situation as seatbelts. For the Volkswagen, this company out of Georgia made this thing called a plug and chug. So you would take out the ashtray and slide. It's like a wooden stock that had two cup holders on it. You'd slide it into the ashtray, and you had two cup holders in the dash of your Bug. Well, he was there and he was like, yeah, there's like, we have Bug guys, we got Mustang guys, we got Chevy guys. He's like, but a big portion of our business is just people that have bench seats. You seem to be doing pretty well with it. Like, why don't you start a website to sell our consoles? And just the key is the universal ones, like the bench seat. You're like, okay, like if you say so, we'll do it. And we were kind of working with this developer who kind of had a Shopify type business before Shopify, in the sense that like you just bought this website that was like done. And all you had to do was add your collections, add your products. This was before there were all these like crazy customizations to websites, but it was like you could set up a website in like 3 or 4 days and you were good to go. So that one kind of, my dad had started it. It's one of the ones I bought from him. And kind of just ran with it. If you'd probably be surprised at how many of those we sell in a day, in a week, etc. But yeah, there's prior to 1987, like a cup holder did not come in a car.
The plug and chug is cool. So anybody who's listening, like go to Google and type in plug and chug VW. What a cool idea, right? Pull out the ashtray, slide something in there that holds. One of the first pictures I see is holding 2 Coors Lights, which totally brings me back to that era where I'm sure a lot of Coors Lights were partake upon while you were driving. But yeah, just cup holders plus. That's insane, man. So it makes sense that people want like a center console and cup holders. And are you comfortable sharing any of the numbers? I think it would shock people what you can sell online and like what kind of numbers you can do.
Yeah, so like cup holders plus does between $30,000 and $40,000 a month.
Everyone go to cupholdersplus.com right now and look at this website and just be blown away. Like, obviously, you're not putting $30,000 to $40,000 in your pocket, right? There's cost of goods, there's advertising, but most internet businesses are somewhere between 10 and 30% sellers discretionary earnings. So do the math yourself. Like, that's incredible, Jeff. Like that you're selling make fit center console. I don't know. I want this show to be inspiring because you're doing some of the weirdest shit I've ever heard of, and you're making a great living from it, and that's incredible to me.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean that's just kind of where I think my business, even like my dad's business, we'll go play golf and someone will say, "Wait, you sell what for a living?" Like yeah, Volkswagen parts. Like, can you really make money doing that? And we're like, no, you can't. Then wait, what else do you do? Oh, we sell seatbelts. Like, are there really like that many like seatbelts out there? And the answer is yes, because in these older cars, like the dogs chew through them, which just happens. You're going to go to the dealer, and the dealer either doesn't have it or he's going to say it's $600 for it. Well, if we sell it and it's not $600. Yeah, it might not look exactly like your original did, but if you have a 1992 Ford Explorer, like, does it really have to be perfect? And the answer is it probably doesn't. It just needs to, be safe. And everything we sell is, it's fully tested. It meets all the government specs. Like, it's not going to break if you get in a crash and it's installed properly. Like, it's going to save your life.
Like, I want to get to classic car stereos, and I want to, like, your About Us page is hilarious. I want to dive into some of that stuff too. But like, help me understand the business side of this. So like, let's say, I don't know, pick one of your businesses that you're comfortable talking about. You want to do the cup holders one?
Sure.
All right. So help me understand the cup holders. Like, if I was today and I wanted to start a cup holder business, am I calling these brands and I'm carrying inventory? Am I going to need warehouse space? Do I need a 3PL? Is there room to drop ship cup holder? I'm trying to think through someone listening to this who's like has an idea of like something they could add to the world, that somebody's probably already making these things. Like, I come from the high ticket drop shipping world, right? I've sold 3D printers, I've sold standing desks. You simply go to the brand and say, hey, I own blankdomain.com. I'd like to be a retailer for your company. Show them your seller's permit, which is easy to get, right? And then you can sell their products, and they'll drop ship them on your behalf. Go back a few episodes and listen to myself and John Warren talking about this if you want to learn how to do that. But how do you start with these like little small parts, or someone has an idea like this? Walk me through the business side of this.
So, I mean, the cup holder one was the supplier contacted us through the J-Bugs relationship. But it's, up until yesterday, because thanks to Wayfair versus South Dakota, like, they no longer drop ship. It was an inventory and a drop ship business. So we carried inventory of the high dollar items, and then, or the high movers, your blacks, your tans, your grays, the colors that sold, that moved, because it was just easier to ship them from our facility because we have those resources. And then if you wanted, yellow, orange, some of these oddball colors, even some of the tans and grays that don't move as well, those ones we would drop ship from the manufacturer. And I was like 3 or 4 years into it, I kind of was looking at my P&L for that one, and I was like, ooh, we're getting just hammered on freight costs because of the inbound shipping. So then the business went to 100% drop ship. So every single order we drop shipped. And I don't know if they would do that today, given the same situation. I know today they wouldn't because of the Wayfair versus South Dakota law. Like, they no longer drop ship. So yeah, it was like, it sucked. In February, you get a letter that's like, shit, like I'm going to have to start carrying inventory on these items again. But for the longest time, it was just, we had this relationship. We figured out how to get SEO to the top for, cup holder bench seat console, and it was kind of just a little printing press.
Yeah, you said you had resources, right? And so in the beginning, most people don't have resources; they need to be resourceful. So I try to. I know there's people listening to this who haven't started, and they listen because they think maybe I can get going, right? Maybe if I listen to this long enough, I'll be inspired. I know that's how I started, right? I listened to a ton of podcasts, and I finally took action. And so I'm trying to help someone who's sitting at home going, I have this idea, it could be underwater basket weaving, whatever it is, they have an idea. I'm trying to think through how they can get started easy, where maybe they don't have, $1,000 or $8,000 for inventory or things like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, the best business to describe that is like the side-by-side business. I mean, that was essentially 100% drop ship business. There's distributors out there for all sorts of like different products, industries, whatever, where they're selling a catalog with literally a million SKUs, and you can cherry pick them, put them on your website. When you take an order, you send the order off to the distributor sends it to your customer, and away you go. Like, I think a big part of that is just, part of it is a lot of these places want a storefront these days, which is, it sucks. Because I think there's been some, brand erosion, I think, by some fly-by-night drop shippers, if you will. But I think if you have a convincing story, you go by the website and you build the website and you have an idea, like, do it. If nothing else, like, if you don't spend a lot of money on advertising and you're smart with your, COGS accounting, like, hey, this order made money, this order didn't make money, and you can track it, like, there's money to be made on the side. Like, you might make $1,000 a month. Then your next goal is like, then get to 2. You just got to find like something you care about, I think, and something where there's resources within the industry to support you. But also, I think it's worth noting, like, you gotta like know what you're dealing with, because if you can get in for like next to nothing, like, so can anyone else. So you're also going to have to like start thinking about that.
I think that's the best part, right? It gives you a reason to start. You should just go sell something on the internet, go learn how to market. And 9 out of the other, 10 people total, if you're one of them, the other 9 people, they're probably going to quit. Most people quit. Like, push through that, go make some sales, learn how to market. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm excited by the list of brands you have here. And I do want to touch on, like, why did Wayfair versus South Dakota cause a company to stop drop shipping? Because
there was some, like, and I don't know. I don't know that the company's big enough for it to show up on like anyone's radar for it to matter. But it was because if they're shipping to these states from a business that isn't within that state, like, the nexus falls on them. And they were just like, we're just not going to deal with it, because they don't ship retail. They're just wholesale. They don't collect tax from anyone because of the way their business was set up. It's like, we're just not going to deal with it. And I think it was part of it, like, COVID hit them hard because they're making these things in Cairo, Georgia, and their production had to be, cut in half, split apart. It just got slow. And it was, I don't really know the truth, but it was also probably very convenient. Like, yeah, we don't really want to drop ship. We'd rather just send like pallets to people.
Yeah, I was curious. Look, I'm not a tax professional. This is not tax advice, so I want to say that. But like Wayfair versus South Dakota, for anybody listening wondering what that is, so I'm in Wisconsin. If I sold something to someone in New Mexico, I previously allegedly didn't need to pay tax on that, right? Like, the internet kind of said Wisconsin's my nexus. If I sell in Wisconsin, I should charge Wisconsin sales tax. If I sell anywhere else, it doesn't matter. Wayfair came along. South Dakota sued them, saying, hey man, you're selling stuff to people in our state and you're not charging sales tax. I really think that they cared more about the big companies like Wayfair. I think they were actually going after Amazon, if I'm honest, and trying to make Amazon pay for this, because Amazon wasn't paying sales tax in any states either. I think, anybody thinking about this can remember a time when you didn't really pay any tax on the internet at all. It was kind of nice, if I'm honest. Now, Wayfair versus South Dakota has caused you to legally, you are supposed to charge sales tax on every single order. So if I sell, what county are you in, Jeff?
Orange.
And what city?
Business in San Diego. Sorry.
Well, you're in Orange County.
Oceanside.
What? Ocean. Okay, so Oceanside.
Oceanside's in San Diego County. I live in Orange County. So
got it. So if I sold something to someone in Oceanside, I would have to charge them California tax. I would have to charge them San Diego County tax, and maybe in California, because you guys are weirdos, I might have to pay like an Oceanside city tax, and I would have to charge you for all of these. And me, small business owner in Wisconsin, I'm supposed to go pay California, sign up and pay California, sign up and pay San Diego County, and sign up and pay Oceanside. And now imagine this over hundreds and hundreds of orders. Again, I'm not a tax professional. This is not tax advice. I think that's the dumbest fucking law on the planet. I also think it's not enforced for anybody who's under a certain level in sales. And I know that there is a representative here in Wisconsin who has a bill in committee, it's been there a while, who wants to put the bar at like 10 million. So if you do under 10 million in sales, just do your Nexus thing. We're not going to come bug you, because he understands that this would just destroy small business. And so I haven't heard of too many cases where the government's coming and saying, hey man, where's our money? I have heard some cases where if you start following the law, then other states somehow know you're following the law in one state and they want their money too. And so again, I'm not a tax professional. I'm not giving you advice here on what you should do, or a lawyer, or any of those things. But it's interesting to hear how, this drop shipper is doing it, or how, I consult a lot of people and everybody's doing it differently. And it's interesting to hear how everybody's doing differently, and how we're all really trying to figure this out as we go, because it is truly a small business destroying law that was passed, right? Like, it's very hard for Joe Bag of Donuts here in Wisconsin, who's selling 14 things on Etsy a month, to have to charge sales tax and figure that out. It's crazy to me.
Yeah. I mean, even a $10 million business, I feel like there's this public perception that like, oh, it's a $10 million business, but that's still a giant pain in the ass to have to track that, pay it. Like, it's a total nightmare.
Yeah, it's a huge burden for sure. But I was curious more on the drop shipping side. Obviously, I work with a lot of drop shippers, putting up a couple stores myself right now currently, which is going to be fun. I haven't done this myself in a while. And so I was curious what they were thinking. I know as I start dealing with suppliers again, maybe I'm going to run into these issues too. Certainly before, a couple of years ago, like right after it passed, when I was still deep in some of this drop shipping game, there was suppliers who were shipping to customers in different states, and they were charging me the sales tax, assuming I was charging the sales tax. And I was like, wait a minute, I have a sales and use thing with you. You're selling it to me, not to that customer. And so I think everyone's very, very confused on what the actual right thing to do here is. And everybody's just kind of trying to, cover their asses.
Yeah, I think this situation is them maybe being a little like too scared. Like, I don't know how big of a company it is, and I know they have like a whole bunch of different divisions, but to me, I thought it was kind of like, yeah, I don't really know that they're going to come after you for cup holders out of Cairo, Georgia. Like, it just doesn't. It seems like there's way bigger, fish upstream that you're going to go before it even remotely gets to you. But I mean, they make the rules, so we're just kind of adapting to follow them.
Like I said, it's interesting for me to connect with so many people and hear so many different sides of this story. Like, I've seen a few different accountants who gave me, yes, do all of it. Make sure you file in every single county in America. And I'm like, yeah, that's feasible. I'll figure that out. And then there's others who are like, yeah, just don't do it. And if they come after you, pay it when the time comes. It's not going to be that big of a burden, right? It's, 5% or whatever. And then others who have said, hey, California and Michigan, they're real a-holes. Like, you might want to make sure you pay in California and Michigan. And then yet another who said, if you pay in California, magically Arizona's going to know about it. And magically Colorado's going to know about it. And I was like, no, I don't want to do any of that. So I don't know the right answer. So I don't want to give anybody advice on here. And I certainly don't want to give away whatever the hell I'm doing. But it's interesting to hear different people's take on this.
I'm in the same boat. Right now, I feel like my response is, I'm sorry, I didn't know I had to do that.
Well, I think there's some people, I'm going to struggle with the name, but Mike Jackness got together with a few people who was really fighting this on the Amazon side of things. So I don't know if you sell on Amazon, but for a while there, Amazon wasn't paying taxes anywhere, and then one by one states were like, Amazon, give us our goddamn money, and they were perpetuating that by me selling on Amazon, that this is somehow my problem, even though they don't give me the customer's name or email or address or any information about the customer. That's somehow my customer and my problem to pay taxes. And so that slowly flipped over the last couple of years. Now Amazon handles all taxes. It is clearly their customer. And so I think there is some people fighting for the small business side of things. And like I said, there's a representative, I think he's out of Milwaukee, who has a bill in committee to really like raise the bar here. And so, like you said, even 10 million seems low, but at least, again, taking it off the Etsy seller who probably has no idea this law even exists or that they should be, charging sales tax.
Yeah. The whole thing's messy, and it's an undue burden on small businesses, but we'll see what happens.
Well, let's get out of the weeds. I don't want to depress anybody, but I want to hear your story, man. Right. So on your About Us page, this says you went to SEMA. I'm not sure what SEMA stands for. I'm guessing it's some sort of automotive show.
Yeah. So SEMA is it stands for Specialty Equipment Manufacturers Association. It's basically automotive aftermarket. Like, it's probably the coolest show in Vegas. I mean, especially if you're a dude, maybe depending on your lifestyle, maybe the porn convention might be cooler for you. But for the most part, it's cars, and it's custom cars. And I mean, it's massive. I think CES might be the only one that's bigger, but it's basically a 4-day party and the world's best and biggest car show.
So you go there with your dad. Even on your About Us page, it says, I was inevitably extremely hungover from indulging in free drinks at the blackjack table until the wee hours in the morning. Tell me more. All right, Jeff.
So, I mean, I'm 27 years old, and I feel like I'm still 22. I'm in Vegas, and as much as I'm there for work, like, I'm also there to party. So gambling, drinking, having fun, staying out late at night, doing it all. So it's the last night. I don't really remember the night before that well, as you'll see in the story, but I think we were staying in New York. It was like, I gambled and was drinking till like 6 a.m. Go to bed. It's like 9 o'clock. My dad's like, we're going to the show. God damn it. I do not feel good. So we're walking the show, and I cannot drink enough water. Like, my throat is just dry. I feel like I'm sweating. I have that nauseous, just hungover to beat hell. And we're flying home that day. So we're kind of getting ready to go to leave. And my dad says, hold on, I need to go talk to this company, Custom Auto Sound, to try to get better pricing. We're walking around their booth, and this guy is talking to his buddy about going to the strip club the night before. And no one's acknowledging us. We're just walking around. It's probably 45 minutes. It's a long time. We're walking around, and my dad's like, hey, why don't we start a site that sells these radios? We've done it with seatbelts. We've done it with cup holders. Why don't we do this? And I was like, Dad, if you do that, Mom's going to kill you. He goes, you're right. You do it. So this was, I don't remember. I think it was before smartphones were really big to where you could do anything you wanted on them. So we broke out the laptop in McCarran Airport, and it was on an auction. I went to GoDaddy and put in a bid to buy classiccarstereos.com. And I think it was a week or two in negotiating back and forth, and we got it. So as soon as we got it, it was bam, let's go to work. And at the time, no one was doing anything intelligently trying to sell these. You would click Camaro, and there was just 3 generic products. It would be your radio. You'd click on the radio, and it would be tell us the year, make, and model of your vehicle. And if we can't do it, we'll call you back. It was well, I was looking at them well, A, from an SEO standpoint, this is terrible. But also, who's going to buy something with the kind of yeah, we'll buy this, but if it doesn't work, we'll let you know. But if it does work, yeah, we're just going to ship it to you. And it was bad. So I just kind of started, my dad had the relationship with the manufacturer. So I was hey, I'm doing this kind of like what you said. I own this website and I want to be, your dealer. And this is the value I'm going to bring. And I just kind of grinded my balls off for, I don't even know how long. I mean, I feel like I'm still grinding my balls off today, on this site. Kind of got it going, and we, turned on ads. I think it was like February of 2012, and it was like, bam, lightning in a bottle. Like, it's probably the funnest thing like I've ever experienced. Like, you just every day you like wake up and like that day was better than the day before, and it's euphoric. And I think, like, to your point, if someone is out there thinking like, should I start the business? The answer is like, yes, because like once you start doing it, like I think that's the best feeling in the world. Like, I don't know, like you could argue like, yeah, better than sex. Like that feeling where it's like today is there and you're just like, you know what I'm saying though? Where it's like, God, I'm like, I've done it. I've built this and we got a winner here. Like, is there anything better, Ben? Like you've been there, right?
Yeah, I would say even everything gets normalized, right? So it's a fantastic feeling to get your first sale and the next sale and get it to a point where it's, handling your bills. And then at some point, like there's a money line and it's not $1 million where you hit it and you're like, you have everything you need, right? Like, you might have some wants and you might want the Lamborghini to go to the moon or whatever, but like you have all of your wants covered. And then you get to a point where you're like, what do I do now? Like it gets normalized at some point, but it is the journey to there is fantastic. And now I'm trying to figure the journey like to the next point, right? Where you do more investments or build even a bigger company. And so I'm excited for that journey myself. Look, I want to take you back real quick. Fuck, do I miss going to Las Vegas for like whatever it is? Like conventions there, they're dumb. You go, you talk to suppliers, sure. Like there is some business to them. And I went to a couple with an old partner. I went to a standing desk one, like an ergonomics thing with Brian Angel. But man, I just miss doing things. I miss people. I miss coming out. Like you and I have discussed, I might fly out there and play golf with you. Actually, I know that's going to happen very soon. But like other than that, man, I miss doing things.
Yeah. I mean, I look forward to SEMA every single year because it's there for work, but it's a party and it's fun. Just, sitting at a blackjack table or sitting at a bar, just being around other people. Hey, talking to them like, hey, what do you do? Who do you work for? Kind of hearing everyone's stories. And I guess we're kind of doing that virtually these days, but yeah,
it's not the same. It's not the same, man.
I mean, I've already had COVID, so if you're down, like you let me know. Let's go to Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're very far away from the world returning to normal, and all of that happening. I have a mastermind in Utah in late May, and I'm hoping, at that point, I've gotten a shot in my arm, and most of the other people who want one have one as well, and I think everyone will probably feel better midsummer, I hope, or I'm hoping it's sooner. But I just had to touch on that, man. I miss doing anything. I traveled so much in 2019, and 2020 started off with some travel and just an immediate like abrupt stop. And there's points where it's nice to be home. I think you even put a little note before we started talking how it's been, COVID's been nice to be home, but I'm starting to get bored of being home. I'm not gonna lie.
I think in the last year, that's why I've been kind of gotten into golf so much. It's like it's one thing that pre-COVID and during COVID pretty much feels to be the same, if not better, because everything's single cart riders, so it's just faster,
and you don't have to ride with somebody. I would assume at your course they pair you with people whether you want to be paired or not.
No, it's single cart riders. I mean, if you want to be paired with someone, like, yeah, everyone like pair up, but like you go play. I mean, most courses are just unless you show up and you say like, hey, we're in the same household. Like it's single cart riders.
Yeah, I meant more like they don't let threesomes go out, right? Like they'll stick a fourth in there. They don't let twosomes go out. They stick a twosome with you, kind of thing.
Yes, but it's all single cart. I mean, they got to make their money, so they're going to be like, yeah, just we're not going to let twosomes go unless nobody else wants to be there. But yeah.
Well, look, let's head back. I want to know more about classic car stereos, right? So you said you hit lightning in a bottle. you sell like some big brands, right? And so even when I've talked to people who want to sell things online, like the idea of selling JBL or Kicker, that's not easy, right? And so is this through a distributor who has all those rights, and you're going through them, or how are you selling some of these big brands, or maybe you didn't start out that way?
So I got lucky, to be honest. Like all of the big car audio brands are very, very, very protective online because there's just a lot of whores, for lack of a better description, that'll like get their hand on product. They don't care about maintaining margin, and they'll go out there and try to sell something at 6%. And you kind of figure it out, and the reps know, the companies know, like they're basically selling it at their cost, making their margin on the, their back end rebate deals and whatnot. But kind of because we were so niched down into classic car, the first one we talked to was Rockford Fosgate, because I was into car audio when I was 16. I had a Bug and I had a Rockford system in it. So I was like, I'm a Rockford guy. I called up Rockford, and it took probably like a month to finally get like a rep to come see me. And he was like, yeah, we don't open up internet dealers, but we make an exception because you're so niched. Like you have a good point. Like you want to sell speakers, you want to sell amps, you want to have like a better product, something else to sell these people other than a radio. And there's no one really playing in this market. So let me do that for you. So we got set up. I still remember the guy sat down and said, yeah, I'm going to need $7,000 stocking order. And it was like the most scared I've ever been in my life, because I was like, I don't know if I can sell this. I don't know if people want this. And you want me to place an order for $7,000 right now, which, I mean, it was like, oh my God, like, I don't know if I can do this. And I think it's just, I didn't want to like be a wimp. So I did it with like, a knot in my stomach, and kind of got Rockford going. And the Kicker thing came because of the side-by-side business. We were at a show out here called the Sand Sports Show, and like Kicker came to talk to us about selling like their power sports product for the UTVs. And I was like, no, let's not talk UTVs. Let's go talk classic, because their products fit everything. And all of the other ones have kind of just been like because of relationships within the rep. So most car audio is like handled by, independent reps. So that rep might have like 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. So if you get like the Rockford rep, well, the Rockford rep has other lines. And as soon as they see that you're doing things the right way and you can actually move product, they go and vouch for you to the other lines and say, hey, make this guy internet authorized. So it's kind of like, in a way, like it's once you start doing it and doing it well, like there's other benefits that come in just through like the relationships within the industry. But I think also, like I look at Kicker, and I don't know if we would have Kicker right now if it weren't for the UTV business, which is kind of one of the ones, like my dad and I are 50-50 partners on that one, which has just been like difficult because of the partnership situation. And that's not really like one of the ones like I would say him and I focus on. Like we have an employee that is dedicated to it. But yeah, it's crazy. Like Kickers because of the UTV business. JL is like sort of because of the UTV business. Like JBS through Rockford. Like it's all just kind of incestuous, kind of within the industry because of the reps.
Yeah, I think I found the same thing, selling branded products myself. I actually coined this term back in the course I took of like there's bronze and silver and gold suppliers, right? And if you think you're going to go out and just land that gold out of the gates, it's probably not going to happen, right? And so starting with the guys that everybody sells to get some sales under your belt, or just get some yeses under your belt, and then call the guys who are a little harder to get, and you might have to pitch yourself, and then eventually utilize those to leverage your way into the bigger ones. And there's brands that it took me a long time to get on board, and man, that sweat to get there sucked, but like once you're there, it's like it's great, right? I don't interview many people who retail things, so it's nice to actually talk to somebody who's selling other people's products. It's fucking easy. Once you get them on board, they're doing all the brand work for you, right? And so if you can find your little market of car stereos or UTV parts, or for me it was 3D printers or pellet grills, you can ride those brand names pretty easily because they're good at making product. They're not good at doing SEO or doing Google AdWords, or remarketing on Facebook, or however you're acquiring your customer. They're usually not very good at those things.
Yeah, no, it's hard because it seems like kind of between like this poker group and even like you kind of look at e-commerce Twitter, if they want BTC Twitter, and everything is like brand. And I think like if you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, here's my idea, but I don't really know how to I would quote unquote DTC it. Like you don't have to DTC it. Like if you can get open with the supplier, like build the website, get opened up, like start selling things because there's money to be made.
Well, a couple episodes ago, I'm recording it before I record it, so I don't know the URL that John and I are going to create, but it'll come out before I'm talking to you right now, where John's coming out with his dropshipping course. I took one back in the day. I think this new one's better. I'm actually going to help him throw a few pieces in there. It's such an easy way to get started selling somebody else's products, having them dropship it. Literally all you need to do is pay your Shopify bill, get a phone number through Grasshopper for $30 and, go take the $100 free from Google and run some ads. And you're probably going to make your first sale on that $100. It'll be the greatest feeling of your life. You'll make money while you're sleeping, and it'll give you the momentum you need to keep going forward. So go back a couple episodes and listen to John and I talk about that if you want to hear what we're talking about. Hey, you mentioned it real quick, Jeff. Working, and I'm quoting you from a text you sent me. Working with, not for, family is really great, but it can also be tough. I wouldn't change it, but it doesn't mean it doesn't come with challenges. Can you elaborate on that? I've never worked with family before, and so I'm curious, what challenges have you seen? What are the pros and cons of working with your old man?
Well, so when he sold me his businesses, my mom said like he's going to work for himself. He's not going to work for you, talking to my dad, because like I know the way you are, and she said, I'm not going to gain a business partner but lose a son. And it's great because it's like, I mean, I work with my best friend every day. I'm talking to him. I mean, I love my dad. But at the same time, like, I think we're both, I mean, he's successful in his way. Like I'm successful in my way. Like we both think we're right. So when you get like those two people in a room and it might be something that comes up and it's like, he thinks he's right. I think I'm right. And, there's definitely been some arguments and there's been times where it's like, God, if you weren't my dad, like I might have punched you. Like that's definitely happened. Like, I mean, I could probably think like 3 or 4 times where it's like, I just wanted to hit him, but I'm not going to do that. And so he jokes and he tells everyone, like he said, the difference between me and him is like, he thinks I'm right and I know I'm right. And I'm like, except for when you're wrong, Dad, because that happens.
So knowing I'm sending this to your father after we're done recording this, who's right most of the time?
Yes.
That's a great answer. Yeah. But there's got to be some pros too, right? Like you're working with your best friend. I can only imagine doing business with my father. I think it'd be a whole lot of fun. But knowing he's 20 years older, thinks he's wiser, doesn't understand new tech, I'm sure we would fight over a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And that's usually it's usually stuff like you said, like new tech is probably the number one thing where it's like, we struggle. And like he used to handle like all of the marketing for JBugs. Like I kind of oversee it at a really high level from like more consultant basis, not really from an operations basis. So it's like, there's things that I'll tell him like, hey, we need to be doing this, or we need to do that. So this is wrong. And he's like, no, like I built this business. I know, you don't know. It's like, well, Dad, there's a reason like you turned it over to me because like he's 66 years old. So he stopped like kind of keeping up with the trends and he's not reading the stuff I'm reading. So there's those types of things. But I mean, I couldn't like, he's my mentor. He drops, gives me so much information, prevents me from making mistakes. Because he sees things happening before they're happening. So yeah, I mean, it's great, but it's also like it's tough because like you can't. It's not like you can just be like, if something happens, you can just be like, oh, it's done. Like, I'll never see you again. Like, no, at the end of the day, like, he's still your dad. I'm still his son, vice versa.
So I got one more quote that you put in our little text message thread that I want to ask you about. You said, also, before working in corporate America, I told my dad, there's no way I want to get into that type of business because I don't want to work as hard as you. And yet here I am and I don't work. For the most part, e-commerce is a hobby and I love it. So you were talking big numbers earlier in this, and that's just on one website. And like, I often am quoted saying, this shit is easy. And it's not. Like, it's hard in the beginning, but you do get to a point where it's much easier and you've outsourced some tasks to your team and you're focused more on making your team's dreams come true, as Taylor Holiday would say, than you are on making your own. And you get to a wonderful place in life. And so what do you mean by that? Because I have my own take on it, but I want to hear in your own words, what does it mean? And yet here I am and I don't work.
I mean, for the most part, I try to do the stuff like on a day-to-day basis that I like to do, within the company, within my job, whatever that has to mean for that day. I mean, of course, there's stuff like today was not necessarily like a fun day. Just like you get some sort of like news about the business. Not that it's like, it's not big from like a personal level, like no one's dying, nothing like health related or anything, but it's just like frustrating things happen. But I mean, like I like writing content. I enjoy it. So I try to write content. I try to focus on the things that I'm good at, the things that I feel like I can, offer and, put into the business that other people can't. But at the same time, like trying to create like systems and educate people on the things that I'm thinking, how I think, why I know the things that I know, where do I get that from, so that I can kind of do more of the stuff I want to do, which is, both the working side of it and also like the leisure side of it. So I can make sure that people are doing their job, and that allows me to play golf during the week because that matters to me. It's crazy. I used to play video games. Like I remember, I'd used to play Call of Duty, PlayStation. I was doing all of that. And it's like, I don't do that anymore. I feel like when I have free time, instead of playing video games, like I work on the website. I research my business, research opportunities. I mean, read Twitter, do other things. It's like, I don't know, all the stuff that's happening kind of in this space is just entertaining and fun. When it's entertaining and fun, it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I like thinking about it all the time. I can't turn it off. I don't know why anybody would want to. And yet I don't work that much. Honestly, I'm at my desk less than 7 hours a day, probably. Some days sometimes it's 13 and other days it's 1 or 0, right? Like there's days I just take off and go golf or do nothing. I don't really care. And that's what I want. I want that freedom. And I think everybody wants that. When you hear your alarm clock go off and you have to wake up and be somewhere, I think I've had my alarm set twice in 2020 and maybe twice so far in 2021. I fucking hate hearing or whatever it is, or even if it's a song. Usually it's an After the Burial song that I have on there. I can't stand it, right? And so the ability to dictate what you're doing and research the things you want to research and have fun. And I hope I inspire somebody with this podcast, even if it's one person who wakes up and decides to do something that they love every single day and turn that into a way for them to make money. I hope I'm able to do that.
I mean, if you're listening and thinking like, should I do this? The answer is like, do it. Just do it one foot in front of the other, because like you can do this too. It's not necessarily easy, but at the same time, like it's not necessarily hard either. And if you can get some momentum, like it's fun because we don't work.
All right. On the lighter side, for all of the poker guys that are listening to this to hear your story and that are going to ruse you next Wednesday, I want to know how you feel about Dibs. So we started, Dibs pitched us, 9 of us decided to invest, and now we have created our own text thread called Investor 9, which we play poker. What is it? Poker 2. It's like 3 hours or something. So we started Investor 9 is the group we started. We have our own text thread, and the cover of that thread is a picture of your face, with like the stop symbol through there. And so I'm curious how you feel, why you didn't invest in dibs, just out of curiosity. I know you're not much of a cards guy. And then, how you feel looking back. Obviously, I'm not going to shut up about this. It's an investment. I think it's a fantastic idea. And so for all you podcast listeners who are like, oh, here goes Ben on the dibs train again. Good. It's going to keep coming. Like, I'm such a huge fan.
Yeah, I didn't really understand like the cards thing, the cards hysteria. And I think also like, I didn't really understand so much of like the blockchain side of it, where things were going. And I don't know, I think at the end of the day, like it didn't feel right in my stomach, like kind of similar to that story where it's like I had a knot in my stomach about making that purchase. Like I just kind of had a knot in my stomach about like my own conscience, and then also like going and telling my wife, hey, I've just threw X amount of dollars at, this angel investment thing. And I don't know, my gut told me no, so I just followed my gut. I think looking back at it now, like seeing where, life has changed, money, cards, investing, crypto, all of these things, where it's happened like in the last like 3 or 4 months, and kind of seeing it like what's going on. Like, is there a little bit of like, maybe I should have done that? Like, yes, but also like at the time, like I still feel like at that time it wasn't the right thing for me. That being said, like if the opportunity presented itself again, like I'd probably jump on board. I think when you see what's happening in the collecting space, and what's happening with blockchain and fractionalized assets, like it's kind of insane. And I think a lot of it was like I just didn't have the foresight at the time, because I really wasn't into cards. I really wasn't into, collecting. And I'm not. I think I just understand it better now. Probably because of the poker night and everything being explained, and hey, this is happening, this is happening. I mean, there's so many things that if it probably weren't for, Taylor and Dave, like Top Shot, like I think in my normal life, like outside of that, like I'd have no idea what Top Shot was. I'd have no idea what like Euler beats are, or even probably like how Ethereum worked. But because of that poker group, I feel like I've kind of been enlightened into like the future, where things are going, etc. So
FOMO's a funny thing, right? Like I can't remember who it was, but somebody told me 2011-ish at work at Walmart distribution center, hey man, you ever heard of this Bitcoin thing? I'm going to go buy a bunch. You should too. And I want to say it was like $3. It was nothing, right? And I didn't have much money back then, but I had some money, right? We all have some money when we have a job. Some money I was spending at Quick Trip or Culver's or McDonald's or something, right? And I look back at that and I'm like, God damn it, right? And then even I called the dip in like November, December, whenever it was. I said it out loud to my wife, to a bunch of people. I'm like, this is going to crash down to about 12, and then it's going to shoot up to 50. And I went on a walk one day, and Bitcoin was dropping hard. And I looked at my phone, and it went from 20 to 16 on the walk. I was like, holy shit, here it is. Here's the dip. I'm going to sell whatever I have, and when it hits 12, I'm going to buy a few of these, and I'm going to ride it back up, because I'm not going to miss it this time, right? So I sell it at 16. I get home, it's back up to 19. And I look, and I literally sold at the bottom number at 16. And so I'm back in. I have some Bitcoin. I have a bunch of other random coins that I believe into, but we all have those FOMO moments, man. Or like when I was in high school, I built a table that like, it's hard to explain as we're talking on a thing, but if you like make a C with your hand right now, the bottom of it slid under the couch and the top slid over your lap. I built this. It didn't exist yet. Like 2 years later, all of a sudden there's that commercial for the foldable table that did that. And I saw that infomercial every night. And I was like, God damn it. I thought of that, right? I'm sure we all have those moments. FOMO's a bitch, man. God damn it. And so I don't know. I feel like rubbing it in on you on having some FOMO, but also having empathy and relating, because it happens to all of us.
I think though part of it is like at the time, like I didn't. It's not like I don't question my decision to like not get in when I did, because at the time, like given the information I had, like I think I made the right decision for Jeff Vogel. Like I think I did. I still think I made the right decision. Now, could I have been wrong? Like I might be wrong. So that's okay though, because like I didn't want to like be untrue to myself or like do something just because like, quote unquote, all the cool kids are doing it. So I don't want to be like the one out. I was totally fine being like, yeah, I just don't have a good feeling about this. Not because I think these guys are idiots or because they're wrong. It's just, I don't know that it's right for me. I don't understand it. So I'm just not going to do it.
I gave Tyler shit on our podcast, and I told him, well, I was giving him shit that I promised I would give you shit too. So that's all the shit I will give. But I hopefully, all the poker guys listening, when next time we get together on a Wednesday, that we all have a good laugh about me razzing you a little bit about it. Hey, one last thing I wanted to ask you. You made a bet with me on the White Sox of all teams. Like, you're in California. I thought you were a California kid forever. Why White Sox? And for anyone listening, we bet $100 that the White Sox would win the Central Division. Obviously, I'm a big baseball guy. I'm a huge Minnesota Twins guy. I don't think the White Sox stand a chance. In fact, Zips or one of the other prediction systems has them at like 82 wins. Like, this is going to be their sophomore slump with all the young kids. I actually think that's what's going to happen too. And so I was more than happy to throw $100 at this. Anybody listening, you want to bet me $1, 100, 1,000? I don't care. I'll take it. I'm a homer. Go Twins. Why White Sox, man? Are you a California kid?
Just both my parents from Chicago, and I feel like I talked about my dad too much, but my dad's favorite player was like Louis Aparicio. So then you grow up, and I mean, he was a White Sox fan, and everybody loved Frank Thomas. So it was just like easy. If you think like early 90s, the White Sox had Frank Thomas.
Big hurt.
And then, the Bulls were unbelievable. So it was just really easy to be a Chicago sports fan. I know most of them are Cubs fans, but it was just easy. So it's like I'm all Chicago sports teams, and then Arizona football and basketball. Arizona football's tough right now. It's hard to be an Arizona football fan. But
have you ever been to the South Side? Have you ever been to the stadium there?
Yeah, it's very gray. Like it's not pretty, and there weren't very many people there.
So my brother and I have this like dream of seeing every ballpark. Actually, you can see on video behind me, I have this little scratch off thing where I scratch off the ballparks I've been to. And so I mapped this out last year. We were going to go straight to the East Coast and then go, like New York. And there's so many stadiums over there, right? And work our way back through Ohio and eventually get back to Chicago. And it was timed where we could have hit, I think it was 13 stadiums in 13 days. It would have been fucking incredible. And the reason my brother bailed, he was like, I'm not going, I can't go to the South Side of Chicago. Like, he's legitimately scared. And he's taller, more strong. Like, he's a big dude, athletic. I'm roly-poly. And so it was hilarious to me that he was like, we can't go to the South Side of Chicago. And so, I can't even think of the name of the show on Showtime that doesn't make South Side of Chicago look very good. What did you think? Did you feel safe when you were there?
I mean, I did. We went to a day game. And I don't know. I haven't been back there to go to a game in like quite some time. So it's not like, I don't know. I feel like you have kids and your memory just like goes away, but I don't remember like that much of it. I don't remember though ever feeling unsafe.
Well, I like to see all the ballparks. Target Field is literally, I think, one of the most gorgeous ones I've been to. San Diego is cool. I know PNC in Pittsburgh is amazing. Target Field's pretty incredible. They're going to let, I think, 10,000 fans in this year, including yours truly. So if you want to come up here and go to a Twins White Sox game, let me know. We'll have to make that happen. Yeah,
I've got my sister-in-law lives in South Minneapolis, so if we ever go up there.
Another scary place to be, South Minneapolis. Look, man, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate hearing your story. And where can people get a hold of you if they want to get a hold of you?
I mean, the best is email me, jeffv@classiccarstereos.com, or hit me up on Twitter.
What's your Twitter handle?
I think it's just Jeff Vogl. I don't really know. I probably should, but
nice.
I think it's just JEFFVOGL.
Nice. I'll put it in the show notes, but I appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks, man.
huge thanks to my friend Jeff for coming on the show. Hopefully this show inspired you. If you've been thinking about starting a business and you're thinking, man, I don't think I can start a business around this, hopefully Jeff inspired you. You can start a business around anything. And whether that's just a side hustle, whether that eventually replaces your income, or whether it becomes your business, you can do it. And I hope this encourages you to start. Big thanks to Bonjoro. Definitely check out Bonjoro if you want to send post-purchase videos to your customers and delight them even more and help spread word of mouth. It's a no-brainer at $25 a month. Check it out at benknightnorth.com/Bonjoro. You'll find that link in the show notes and all the links we mentioned in the show notes as well. Appreciate all of you listening. Next week, I'll be joined by Steve Chu from My Wife Quit Her Job, so look out for that episode next Wednesday.